What caught Tian Qiong eye was the female knight carrying a longsword on her back, standing behind Shi Meng Yi. The swordswoman had a cold, expressionless face, and her sharp, icy gaze briefly flicked over to Tian Qiong. That look made him feel like if he dared to refuse, she would immediately strike him down with one swing of her sword. Sweat poured down Tian Qiong's forehead. He bit his lip, holding back his anger. Inside, he grumbled, now the human race is so strong, and creatures like us have to rely on them. If we can't fight back, we just have to obey their arrangements. Thinking this, Tian Qiong closed his eyes, sighed deeply, his expression full of helplessness. He finally answered, fine, I agree. When Shi Meng Yi heard his agreement, he gave a slight nod and said simply, good. Then he turned and left. As Tian Qiong watched Shi Meng Yi and the swordswoman walk out of the room, he raised his finger and pointed upward. He bared his teeth in a grimace of dissatisfaction, muttering under his breath, you think just because you're Xiao Zhan's master, you're all that? Hemph. Under Xiao Zhan's arrangements, the great saints were divided into 3 teams. The first team was tasked with searching for any surviving outsiders. The second team, led by Thai Koi the Open, was to search for Tian Nu's strongholds. Tian Qiong was assigned to a solo team. His task was to transform into Tian Nu weapons and secretly search for the Tian Nu strongholds in the dark. Xiao Zhan's decision wasn't about sending Tian Qiong to die as bait, but rather, Xiao Zhan had great confidence in Tian Mian's abilities. Of course, Zhenbai Wang was also part of one of the teams. His mission was to follow the first team and search for any surviving outsiders. 3 days later, Xiao Zhan set out alone. His figure moved with incredible speed, and his presence was so well hidden that it seemed to almost disappear entirely into the surrounding environment, drawing no attention from anyone. He held a jade slip in his hand. The slip was a deep, ancient gold color, with a flow of energy visible on its surface. It marked 2 locations, places where Dao sources might exist. At that moment, Xiao Zhan suddenly stopped in midair. His figure gently stepped out of the void and into the open. He gazed ahead and quietly muttered, I've finally arrived. Hovering in the air, Xiao Zhan focused his gaze on the distant horizon. His eyes narrowed as the scene before him came into view. Over 10,000 miles away, the vast land, stretching hundreds of thousands of miles, was completely scorched black with no sign of life. Dark clouds covered the sky, rumbling with thunder as if rain were pouring down, constantly battering the land below. On the ground, countless white lightning bolts slithered like serpents, creating a massive, terrifying thunderstorm. The lightning flashed in time with the deafening thunder. Boom, 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 boom. The thunderous roar was so intense it shook the very air, striking fear into anyone who heard it. Through the layers of lightning, Xiao Zhan vaguely saw, the heart of the scorched land, a towering mountain that stretched straight up to the clouds. The entire mountain had been relentlessly washed by divine thunder for countless years, which was why it had turned the blackened, charred color of burned coal. Xiao Zhan gripped the jade slip tightly in his hand, his brow furrowing slightly, a look of fear appearing in his eyes. Tian Yunzi's commentary read, this is a land rich in dragon veins with abundant spiritual energy. It's one of the rare blessed locations of the Tai Chi ancient star. How did it end up like this? Time is truly merciless. It can cause the rise and fall of empires, and even great emperors cannot escape the flow of history. Tian Yunzi continued, this place has witnessed countless changes over tens of thousands of years. It's no surprise that it has transformed so much. Can we really find the Dao source here? We'll know when we look for it. After all, I'm not even afraid of the heavenly tribulation or this little divine thunder. It can't hurt me. Without a word, Xiao Zhan immediately activated the ethereal steps of yin and yang. His body turned into a streak of light, heading straight for the Divine Thunder Swamp. Just as he was about to enter the Divine Thunder Zone, a cold, clear voice echoed from within. This is the domain of my clan. Outsider, you be wise not to recklessly step in. Xiao Zhan furrowed his brows, his sharp eyes following the source of the voice. From 1,000 miles away, a figure emerged from the swamp, lightning crackling around her. She held a thunder spear in her hand, wearing a silver bird-beak mask that revealed only her striking blue eyes. Her body was wrapped in tight silver armor that clung to her soft white skin, exuding an alluring grace. Behind her, a pair of glowing blue wings fluttered, allowing her to teleport long distances with a single movement. Her name is Xin Lai, a member of the Thunder God clan. Seeing Xin Lai appear, Xiao Zhan was momentarily stunned, thinking to himself, I couldn't sense her presence at all. Wait, she must have merged with the divine thunder itself, which is why I subconsciously overlooked her. As he thought this, Xiao Zhan focused his energy and began probing her cultivation. For her aura, she was at least a level 6 Great Saint. Xiao Zhan then asked, Xin Lei, are you from the Thunder God clan? Xin Lei, dressed in battle armor and surrounded by purple divine thunder, slightly shifted her gaze. She looked at Xiao Zhan and nodded, responding, Yes, I am from the Thunder God clan, outsider. This is the forbidden area. You've worked hard to reach this point, but you should leave quickly to avoid bringing harm to yourself. If not, I won't be so kind. Xin Lei emphasized again just how dangerous this place was, wanting to make sure Xiao Zhan understood. Hearing this, Xiao Zhan thought to himself, Asterisk, I can't believe the Thunder God clan has taken control of this place. Asterisk. The Thunder God clan, as their name suggests, were descendants of one of the 5 primordial gods of the Tai Chi ancient star. According to records from the ancient text of the Tian Qiong Continent, this clan is incredibly powerful and skilled in battle. Every time they are purified by divine thunder, their combat strength increases by 50%, sometimes even doubling. At the same level, they are considered a terrifying force. Asterisk, I'm sure I can handle this armored woman in front of me, but I won't strike directly. Who knows how many of her clan members are hiding among the layers of thunder? If I provoke the whole group, even if I don't die on the spot, the damage would be severe. Asterisk. Thinking this, Xiao Zhan immediately cupped his hands to Xin Li and smiled as he said, Greetings, fellow cultivator. Xin Li, you are surrounded by lightning and your aura carries a murderous intent. She coldly stared at Xiao Zhan with her icy blue eyes, remaining silent. Xiao Zhan's expression didn't change. He continued smiling as he said, My name is Xiao Zhan, the new master of Huangshan Island. As soon as he finished speaking, the armored woman's gaze shifted slightly. A flash of surprise appeared in her eyes. After scanning Xiao Zhan from top to bottom, Xin Lei scoffed and said, From the aura you give off, you're only in the godly power realm, yet you dare to call yourself the master of Huangshan Island. Do you think I'm an idiot? Before she could finish speaking, Xiao Zhan silenced her by holding up a token. The token was completely black, about the size of the palm, made of a strange metal of unknown origin. Engraved on the token were 5 distinct symbols: a golden dragon representing divine dragon, a bolt of golden lightning representing thunder god, a black straight blade representing dark god, a black mountain representing wild god, and 3 wavy lines representing wind god. In the center of these 5 symbols was the ancient character Huang written in old script. The token exuded an ancient and mysterious aura. Xin Li's eyes were filled with shock as she thought to herself, the badge of Huang Sang. Her blue eyes showed disbelief as she looked at Xiao Zhan. You really have the badge of Huang Sang. Are you truly the new master of Huangshan Island? Xiao Zhan smiled calmly and replied, Absolutely, it's me. Though Xiao Zhan appeared relaxed on the outside, inside he was confused, silently wondering, I don't understand why this woman is reacting so strongly. Xin Lei took a deep breath and finally regained her composure. She looked at Xiao Zhan and said, If that's the case, then please come with me. Without waiting for a reply, the armored woman turned and gently raised her arm. A layer of blue lightning appeared in the air as she casually stepped through it. Xiao Zhan didn't rush to follow. He narrowed his eyes, paused for a moment, then pulled out a small jade vial, carefully placing it into his sleeve. The vial contained the deadly supreme threefold venom. Just 1 drop was enough to seriously injure a great saint. If someone was caught off guard, it could even kill a great saint in an instant. Xiao Zhan thought to himself, it's important to stay on guard. If the Thunder God clan has any plans, or if they use forbidden spells to seal off space, I might not be able to access items from my spatial ring right away. That would put me in a dangerous position. To avoid any unexpected situations, I need to be prepared with a backup plan. After everything was taken care of, Xiao Zhan slowly followed behind Xin Li as she entered the Divine Thunder Realm. Inside the Divine Thunder Realm, a stone door suddenly appeared, surrounded by flickering lightning. Xin Li stood in front of the door, waiting for Xiao Zhan. She glanced at him, noting how he was surrounded by lightning, but seemed unharmed. Seeing that he was fine, a look of admiration appeared in her blue eyes. You're really the master of Huangshan Island. You got some skills. My name is Xin Lei, she continued. I'll take you to meet my grandpa. He's the current leader of the Thunder God clan. Xiao Zhan nodded in acknowledgement, quietly thinking to himself, It seems like the Thunder God clan is responsible for how things turned out here. But why would they do this? Could it be because of the Tao source? If the Tao source is in the hands of the Thunder God clan, how can I take it back? While Xiao Zhan was lost in thought, he suddenly heard Xin Li's voice in his mind. Stay close to me. They moved through layer after layer of thick divine thunder, traveling a long distance. Finally, Xin Li led Xiao Zhan to a dark stone door. She gently reached out and pushed it forward. With a soft creaking sound, the stone door slowly began to open. Xin Li didn't hesitate for a moment and quickly flew through the air. Xiao Zhan silently followed behind. As soon as they passed through the stone gate, the scene in front of Xiao Zhan left him in shock, and he couldn't help but exclaim. Before him appeared a peaceful village. There were houses, fertile fields, and a sea of lush greenery. The people here were simple and hardworking, plowing the fields. On the smooth, winding village road, children were happily running and playing. In the distance, the occasional crowing of a rooster and barking of dogs could be heard. Xiao Zhan couldn't help but marvel internally. It's hard to believe that in the Tai Chi ancient star, a place filled with killing intent, there's such a peaceful place. It feels like I've stepped into a paradise. He never expected the homeland of the Thunder God clan to be so simple, like an ordinary village. Xin Li glanced at Xiao Zhan, smiling as she asked, "Surprised, huh?" Xiao Zhan didn't say much, just nodded in response. The two continued walking down the village road. As they went, Xin Li explained, "This space is a small world created by Lord Thunder God. It has been passed down through generations and is still managed by the clan leader of the Thunder God clan. Come on, follow me." Xiao Zhan remained silent, walking closely behind as they entered the village. After walking for a while, Xin Li finally stopped in front of a small house located right in the center of the village. The house was slightly larger than the others around it, but there was nothing particularly different about it. "We're here," Xin Li said casually as she pushed open the curtain and led Xiao Zhan into the small courtyard. She called out, "Grandpa." In the yard, there was an old man with white hair and a dark complexion. He was Lai Yuan, the clan leader of the Thunder God clan. At that moment, he was sitting on a wooden log, lazily puffing on a cigarette, with mud still on his feet, clearly having just returned from the fields. When he noticed someone entering the yard, he put the cigarette down and slowly lifted his head to look. Lai Yuan's expression remained calm, but his gaze immediately fixed on Xiao Zhan. He furrowed his brows and turned to Xin Li, asking, "Liar, why did you bring an outsider into the clan?" Xin Li, with a serious expression, replied, "Grandpa, this man's name is Xiao Zhan. He holds the badge of Huang Sang." As soon as she finished speaking, Lai Yuan's pupils contracted. He stood up abruptly and asked, "Liar, what did you just say?" Xin Li, now unable to hide her excitement, whispered, "He holds the badge of Huang Sang. He is the new master of Huangshan Island." Xiao Zhan glanced at the two of them, visibly moved by the sight of the grandfather and grandson's emotions. He frowned slightly and murmured to himself, "You're both this worked up. Are you planning to cut out my kidney or something?" "I suggest you both stay calm," he added. Seeing Xiao Zhan's wary look, Lai Yuan and his grandson immediately controlled their excitement. Both turned to face Xiao Zhan and forced a friendly smile. Realizing he had been a bit rude, the elder Lai Yuan cleared his throat and spoke seriously to Xiao Zhan. ***, young friend, please have a seat. Let's talk." Lai Yuan's grandson quickly went inside and brought out a wooden log to serve as a seat for Xiao Zhan. Xiao Zhan remained silent, quietly sitting down and waiting for them to say what they had in mind. Lai Yuan smiled at Xiao Zhan and said, "Young man, my name is Lai Yuan. I am the current clan leader of the Thunder God clan. May I ask if you could show me the Huang Sang badge?" Xiao Zhan nodded slightly. Without hesitation, he took out the Huang Sang badge and tossed it toward Lai Yuan. The moment Lai Yuan saw this, his face turned pale with surprise. He immediately raised both hands, respectfully receiving the badge. Lai Yuan lowered his head and carefully examined the Huang Sang badge in the palm of his hand. His expression immediately became serious. The old man's eyes widened in surprise as he thought to himself, "This really is the Huang Sang badge, the genuine, authentic Huang Sang badge." After confirming the badge, Lai Yuan respectfully raised both hands and returned the Huang Sang badge to Xiao Zhan. "Young man, please keep this safe." With that, Lai Yuan sat back down on the wooden stump. He picked up his tobacco pipe and took a deep drag, his weathered face fading into the haze of smoke. His gaze grew distant, as if lost in a memory. A moment later, Lai Yuan spoke in a low voice, "Young man, you must be very curious why both I and Lear were so stirred when we saw you." Xiao Zhan nodded slightly, a small smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. He thought to himself, could it be that, just like on Huangshan Island, someone here is secretly arranging a fate for me? If that's the case, then it's great. The opportunity has come right to my hands. Why not take it? Lai Yuan took another deep breath and looked off into the distance, then softly said, "Xiao Zhan, before you entered Thunder God Village, you must have seen the large black mountain in the center of Thunder Marsh, right?" Xiao Zhan gently stroked his chin, thinking for a moment. He then looked at Lai Yuan and asked, "Senior, do you mean that the large black mountain has something to do with me, or perhaps with Huangshan Island?" Lai Yuan looked into the distance, smiled softly, and said, "Xiao Zhan, young man, Actually, the original homeland of our Thunder God clan wasn't here. This place wasn't a thunder marsh either. It used to be a fertile land full of life, where the Earth's dragon veins converge and the spiritual energy was abundant. The events began 100,000 years ago, just like today. Back then, when the catastrophe occurred, it was also the time when the Tai Chi ancient star opened up. Countless cultivators from the Tian Qiong Continent came to the Tai Chi ancient star, hoping to find their own opportunities. For the people native to the Tai Chi ancient star, even though they felt some resentment, they didn't resist. Over time, they got used to the foreigners coming here, causing a stir and then leaving once the Tai Chi ancient star opened again. They always knew these visitors would return to wherever they came from. But what we didn't expect was that this time, not only were there cultivators from the Tian Qiong Continent, but also strange races from deep within the universe. Two of these humanoid beings emitted an incredibly powerful aura. They were at least supreme divinity level. Xiao Zhan was stunned and exclaimed in shock, "Supreme divinity? How could they have crossed the heavenly barriers to enter the Tai Chi ancient star?" Lai Yuan nodded slightly. It was indeed the supreme divinity, though he didn't know exactly how they managed to get in. Xiao Zhan looked at Lai Yuan seriously and asked, "Based on what you said, are the two of them connected to the huge black mountain in the middle of the Thunder Marsh?" Lai Yuan slowly took a drag from his cigarette, then nodded and answered, "Yes, they were sealed on top of that great black mountain." Xiao Zhan remained calm on the outside, lifting his cup of tea and taking a sip. But inside, waves of turbulence were rising. He furrowed his brows, thinking to himself, why were these two supreme divinities sealed here? I can't believe there are supreme divinities sealed on the Tai Chi ancient star, and even two of them. What's even more shocking is that they might come from Wanzhou Honghuang. This news is truly earth-shattering. Lai Yuan sighed softly and said, "This is a long story. These two supreme divinities came from deep within the Honghuang universe. After arriving on the Tai Chi ancient star, they unleashed a massacre, killing everyone in sight. They didn't just wipe out all the cultivators from the Tian Qiong Continent, they even spared none of the people living on the Tai Chi ancient star." Xiao Zhan's face was filled with surprise as he furrowed his brows and asked, "Wasn't there anyone who stood up to resist? Where was Divine Dragon?" Lai Yuan shook his head and sighed softly. At that time, Divine Dragon was still in the early stages of development. It was basically impossible for him to take action. Xiao Zhan rubbed his chin thoughtfully, his brows knitting together as he murmured, "That's true." At that point, Divine Dragon was just an egg. Forget protecting others, even protecting himself would have been a challenge. As his name was mentioned, Divine Dragon, who was sitting in a palace reading books, couldn't help but sneeze. Back to Xiao Zhan, he continued questioning Lai Yuan. Without Divine Dragon's help, how did you manage to hold on? How did you stop the two supreme divinities? Not only did you prevent your clan from being destroyed, but you even managed to seal them away. At that moment, Xin Lei, who had been quietly standing behind Lai Yuan with a tea tray in her hands, raised her eyes and spoke softly. It was actually the former clan leader of our Thunder God clan who stepped in. He was exceptionally talented and had reached the supreme divinity level. His strength was almost on par with the ancient gods, the Thunder gods themselves. When he learned that foreign enemies were slaughtering the lives of our people, he immediately broke through the barriers and went out to fight. Facing two supreme divinities alone, he fought fiercely, and no one could stop him. Even though the two supreme divinities joined forces and fought with all their might, they could only match him blow for blow. They had no way of killing him. But at this point, Xin Li's eyes reflected ripples of water. The two supreme divinities were incredibly mysterious. No matter how the tribe leader attacked or how powerful the divine techniques he used, he could never kill them. It was as if they couldn't die. No matter how their bodies were shattered, they could still recover within a short time. Hearing this, Xiao Zhan was stunned and thought to himself, asterisk immortal, indestructible, like the blood-red pupils inside Ming Yao Zi's body asterisk. Could it be? While he was lost in thought, Xin Li's voice continued. When facing an opponent who can't be killed, even someone as strong as the tribe leader will eventually be worn out, exhausted, and die. Just as the tribe leader was on the brink of death, heavily injured, the sky above Tai Chi ancient star suddenly cracked open with a massive tear. At this moment, Xin Li's tone grew more intense. A spark of excitement flashed in her eyes. A woman appeared, holding an icy sword and wearing a long white dress. She used a powerful, domineering technique to forcefully tear open the heavens and earth, sealing off Tai Chi ancient star and directly headed toward the battlefield, where the tribe leader was fighting the two supreme divinities. Xiao Zhan widened his eyes in shock and asked, "Who is that woman? How could she break the seal of Tai Chi ancient star?" He frowned and thought to himself, could it be her? According to history, from 100,000 years ago, if any woman dared to challenge the heavenly Tao and break the heavenly seal of Tai Chi, ancient star, using her supreme divinity, it could only be her. I once asked Liu Yi if his peak level cultivation could allow him to enter Tai Chi, ancient star. At that time, Liu Yi had shaken his head, regretfully saying it was impossible. He even added, most supreme divinities in the world can't do it. Xin Li's gaze shifted slightly and she looked at Xiao Zhan before speaking 4 words. Emperor Tai Su. Her voice carried admiration as she continued. According to our clan's records from that time, Emperor Tai Su hadn't become an emperor yet. She was only a supreme divinity, but her power was incredible, almost unbelievable. Even the seal of Tai Chi, ancient star, couldn't stop her. Back then, our Thunder God clan's leader was gravely injured, and it was because of her that he slowly recovered. Together with Emperor Tai Su, they fought side by side and sealed away the 2 supreme divinities. But the sealing technique lacked the necessary energy to sustain it, so it wasn't enough to fully suppress those 2 supreme divinities. At that time, the clan leader's great path had shattered and the spiritual energy was in chaos, making it impossible for him to achieve the status of an emperor in his lifetime. Therefore, he chose to transform into the endless divine thunder, using his own righteous energy to seal the additional energy. In the end, he successfully sealed the 2 supreme divinities. This was also the origin of the divine thunder swamp outside, as well as the reason for the formation of the large black mountain. Our Thunder God clan, in order to better guard the seal, left our ancestral land and settled here, vowing to protect it forever. Xiao Zhan's expression flickered slightly. He smiled faintly and said, "That's quite an interesting story, but what does this have to do with me?" Lai Yuan, with cloudy eyes, stared hard at Xiao Zhan and said, stressing every word, because 100,000 years ago, Emperor Tai Su once said that 100,000 years later, the new master of Huangshan Island would be able to completely resolve these 2 hidden dangers. Upon hearing this, Xiao Zhan's eyes widened in shock. He stared at Lai Yuan, his mind immediately filled with a series of question marks. Unable to hold back, he burst into laughter and said, "Senior, don't joke with me. How could Emperor Tai Su possibly know about me?" Lai Yuan shook his head and replied, "I don't know much about this either. It's just recorded in the ancient texts of our clan, and I dare not question it casually. Before Emperor Tai Su left Tai Chi, ancient star, she said something like this." At this point, Lai Yuan seemed to remember something. He suddenly clapped his hands, looked at Xiao Zhan, and said, "Right, before Emperor Tai Su left, she casually mentioned something. She asked the clan leader of the Thunder God clan to check with her, in case we meet the new owner of Huangshan Island, whether they have obtained the skull-shaped pendant. If they have, they must take great care of it." Xiao Zhan looked confused and immediately asked, "What if they haven't?" He furrowed his brows, lost in thought. Emperor Tai Su already knew too much. She knew that after 100,000 years, Huangshan Island would have a new owner, which was already impressive enough. How could Emperor Tai Su also know about the pendant I have? The pendant was originally obtained by Lin Qiao Qiao's father, who was also Mr. Lin's son. It was because of this item that their family was hunted down, leading to their ruin, with only Lin Qiao Qiao surviving. After being locked up in Tianyao City, she gave it to Lu Hongyi. When I reunited with Lu Hongyi, she passed the pendant to me. It went through many hands before it finally ended up with me. If Emperor Tai Su knew about the pendant's existence and even knew who currently possessed it, wouldn't that be too far-fetched? Could it be that Emperor Tai Su has the ability to see the future? Xiao Zhan's mind raced with thoughts. In the end, he forced himself to accept what was happening right in front of him. Lai Yuan's expression slowly turned strange as he looked Xiao Zhan up and down with a scrutinizing gaze. Hesitating, he said, "What if? What if that happens?" Xiao Zhan, with curiosity and tension in his eyes, stared at Lai Yuan, waiting for his answer. After a long pause, Lai Yuan finally spoke. "Emperor Tai Su once said if you don't take good care of the skull pendant, the next time you see her, she'll hit you on the backside. Not once, but 100 times until you won't even be able to lean on the wall anymore. Not only does she want to hit you, but she wants to do it 100 times, draining you until you're nothing but bones." Sinalai, standing beside them, couldn't help but feel increasingly embarrassed as she heard these words. The more she thought about it, the more her face turned red. As for Xiao Zhan, after hearing this, he fell into a dazed state. A question mark appeared in his mind. He was startled and horrified, thinking to himself, "Oh no, Emperor Tai Su is actually a pervert. I can be sure of one thing. Emperor Tai Su has definitely met me before. From the way she spoke, it felt like we were very close, even more than usual. Could it be that I really traveled back in time? No, that's impossible." Seeing Xiao Zhan lost in thought, Lai Yuan coughed lightly. His expression turned serious as he said, Young man, recently there have been unusual signs with the seal. I suspect that the two supreme divinities might be about to break the seal and escape. If they do, Tai Chi Ancient Star will likely be drenched in blood again. At this point, Lai Yuan suddenly stood up, visibly agitated. He bowed to Xiao Zhan, clasping his hands, and said, "On behalf of the Thunder God clan, I ask you to please help us. For the sake of Emperor Tai Su, save the countless lives on Tai Chi Ancient Star." After hearing Lai Yuan's words, Xiao Zhan paused for a moment. He regained his composure, sighed deeply, and then casually said to the two Lai Yuan elders, "This is too dangerous. I don't want to get involved in this mess." As soon as he finished speaking, Lai Yuan and Xin Li's faces changed dramatically, their expressions filled with disappointment. If Xiao Zhan didn't act, how could they stand up to the two supreme divinities? Once the seal was broken, the first to suffer would be the Thunder God clan. After that, the entire Tai Chi Ancient Star would be destroyed. Lai Yun looked at Xiao Zhan sadly and quickly spoke up, pleading, "Young man." Xiao Zhan raised a hand to stop him. "I'm going to the seal site to face two supreme divinities. How dangerous that is, there's no need to say much. I'm sure you understand it better than I do." Lai Yun's expression stiffened, unable to argue. He just gave a soft, Xiao Zhan wasn't wrong. There was no reason for him to take such a risk for the Thunder God clan or the Tai Chi Ancient Star. The two of them, Lai Yuan and his grandson, looked even more downcast. Suddenly, Xiao Zhan smirked, his lips curling into a smile as he spoke casually. "However, I might be willing to take that risk if you're willing to give me the Tao source." When Lai Yuan heard the words Tao source, he forced a smile and said, "Young man, the information you received is false. There is no Tao source here." Xiao Zhan's face stiffened, and he widened his eyes in disbelief. "What do you mean?" Stinley, who was standing nearby, spoke up. "Emperor Tai Su once said you would come here for the Tao source. So, before she arrived at the Tai Chi Ancient Star, she left a jade slip marking the Tao source's location and placed it in the self-sealed land of a fake turtle. Xiao Zhan, did the news you received come from that turtle?" Xiao Zhan's face went pale as he muttered, "Ah, this." The image of Tian Qiong immediately flashed in his mind. He thought to himself, the turtle that came out of Emperor Tai Su's mouth must be Tian Qiong. Well, Emperor Tai Su really knows how to plan things. Xiao Zhan couldn't stop cursing Emperor Tai Su in his heart. He snorted coldly and turned to walk straight out of the house. "I've always had one principle in life. I never do things that are not beneficial to me," he said, bidding farewell. Lai Yuan quickly reached out to stop him. "Young man, wait." Xiao Zhan closed his eyes. His voice, cold and full of killing intent, said, "Do you want to force me to stay? Think carefully." Lai Yun looked pained and explained, "Young man, you're misunderstanding me. Though there's no Tao source here, I know where it is. If you're willing to help me, I'll immediately tell you the location. I, Lai Yuan, swear to the heavenly Tao that this information is absolutely accurate." Xiao Zhan stood still. He briefly glanced at Lai Yuan, and the image of the old man swearing solemnly to the heavenly Tao felt strangely familiar. Xiao Zhan roughly understood Emperor Tai Su's intentions. Although she hadn't directly said it, there was enough in her previous words to confirm that the two supreme divinities on the mountaintop were most likely under the control of his primordial Tao seed. With just that much, even if Lai Yuan hadn't come asking for help, Xiao Zhan would have gone to investigate himself. Previously, his primordial Tao seed had devoured the blood-red pupil, allowing him to make a huge breakthrough. Now facing two supreme divinities, it was like a golden opportunity for experience. If he didn't seize the chance, it wouldn't be in demonic Chu's style. The reason Xiao Zhan pretended to walk away was to maximize his benefits. Sure enough, Lai Yuan, being so focused on the Tao, panicked at the mention of Tao's source and hurriedly made a promise, exposing a weakness. Once the heavenly Tao oath was made, Xiao Zhan's serious expression immediately shifted into a cheerful smile. He casually turned around, scratched his head, and pretended to be embarrassed as he said, "Old man, you really... How can you make a heavenly Tao oath so casually? You've really put me in a tough spot here." With that, Xiao Zhan nonchalantly sat down on the log, giving a shy grin and saying, "All right, let's continue our discussion." Witnessing Xiao Zhan's sudden change of attitude, Lai Yuan and Xin Li couldn't help but twitch their mouths. Pretty impressive. The kid knows how to handle himself. No wonder he's called the best actor. He can play both the villain and the good guy equally well. Lai Yuan secretly grumbled to himself. He then turned to Xiao Zhan and said, "All right then, let's be straightforward. Xiao Zhan, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Anything I know, I'll tell you. No secrets." Xiao Zhan nodded and immediately asked the question that had been on his mind. "Can you confirm that the two supreme divinities are still trapped in the seal? I'm worried that at the moment I set foot on that mountain, they'll kill me before I even have a chance to check things out. Xin Lei, with a serious expression, looked at Xiao Zhan and replied, "Don't worry, I can assure you that they haven't escaped the seal yet." As soon as she finished speaking, Lai Yuan raised his hand. A transparent orb about the size of a basketball flew out from the space ring. The orb glowed with a white light, and within it, a flow of energy could be seen swirling. Upon closer inspection, one could notice numerous tiny hairline cracks forming on its surface. Xiao Zhan, looking confused, asked, "What is this?" Lai Yuan explained, "This is a treasure that Emperor Tai Su left specifically for our Thunder God clan years ago, used to monitor the state of the sealing array. If either of the two supreme divinities were to break free, this orb would immediately shatter." Right now, the cracks on the orb are becoming more frequent, which shows that the two supreme divinities are about to break free from their seal. Based on my guess, they'll likely break out within 2 years. When that happens, whether it's the Tai Chi Ancient Star or the Tian Qiong Continent, they will both have to face a world-ending disaster. Xiao Zhan nodded slightly, silently admiring Emperor Tai Su's thorough preparations. After thinking this over, Xiao Zhan turned to Lai Yuan and his grandson to ask, "Gentlemen, could you tell me a bit more about the details?" Lai Yuan responded, "All right, I will speak slowly and carefully, explaining everything to Xiao Zhan without holding anything back." Time passed. 3 hours later, all the doubts in Xiao Zhan's mind had been cleared up. At that point, Lai Yuan stood up, bowed to Xiao Zhan, and clasped his hands in a formal gesture. "Xiao Zhan, young man, we're counting on you now. Once you return safely, I will tell you the location of the Tao source." Xin Lei also bowed to Xiao Zhan, showing his gratitude to the future benefactor of the entire Thunder clan. Xiao Zhan stood tall, calmly accepting the ceremony from the two Lai Yuan family members. He glanced at their hopeful expressions, and the corner of his mouth couldn't help but curl into a smirk. Inside, he couldn't suppress a mocking smile. "I never thought that demonic Chu, who has done so many evil deeds in his life, would one day become a hero who saves the world. It's truly laughable. All right, fine, whatever. For the sake of the greater good, I'll have to go on this journey." Lai Yuan and his granddaughter personally escorted Xiao Zhan out of Laishan village. The space portal was opened once more. "Young man, this might help you at a critical moment," Lai Yuan said as he tossed a small orb toward Xiao Zhan. Xiao Zhan casually reached out and caught the orb, smiling in response. He turned back for one last look. The village, like a hidden paradise amidst the mortal world, appeared before his eyes. A complex expression crossed his face, then he turned and stepped into the space portal, returning to the Divine Thunder Swamp. As the portal slowly closed, Xin Li stood still for a long time. She took a deep breath before turning to Lai Yuan, asking softly, "Grandpa, do you think he can succeed?" Lai Yuan was silent for a moment. He sighed deeply before answering, "I don't know. But if this is Emperor Tai Su's plan, maybe he can succeed. If he fails, then the Thunder God clan and the entire Tai Chi Ancient Star will be finished." The fear in Lam's eyes was unmistakable. The divine dragon of the endless great marsh has emerged. Could it be that even you can't defeat it? Lai Yuan gently shook her head. Although she was stronger than the clan leader had been in the past, her strength still had its limits. Even the clan leader had been surrounded and nearly exhausted, and the divine dragon would likely face a similar fate. Now all they could do was rely on Xiao Zhan, young man, hoping that he could succeed. The scene shifted with a rumble. The ground was as dark as ink. Divine thunder cascaded from the sky like waterfalls, its lightning bolts twisting and writhing through the air like serpents. Yet Xiao Zhan walked calmly, unaffected. Each bolt of divine thunder struck him, but it couldn't harm him in the slightest. Not a single hair or thread of his clothing was disturbed. Xiao Zhan gripped a snow-white sphere in his left hand, while his right hand held a heavy pendant shaped like a skull. The pendant radiated a chilling aura that seemed to freeze the very air around him. Xiao Zhan looked down at the skull pendant in his palm, thinking to himself, "What is this thing really? Why did Emperor Tai Su tell me to keep it safe? Why can't I see through its true nature?" Thinking about this, Xiao Zhan gently shook his head. Finally, he put the skull-shaped pendant and the snow-white orb back into his spatial ring. Now was not the time to dwell on such matters. The important task at hand was to deal with the two supreme divinities sealed on the Black Mountain. If they broke free from their seal, the consequences were easy to imagine. The last thing he wanted was for his master and unborn child to be harmed. They would certainly die. "If you're going to threaten the ones I care about, and now I have the chance to deal with you, then I have no choice but to send you to your death." Xiao Zhan lifted his head, looking through layers of divine thunder. Faintly, he could make out the outline of a massive black mountain at the center of the Thunder Marsh. It was just a blurry corner, but it was enough to see how huge it was. Compared to it, Tai Tu Peak was nothing but a mere beginner. Following the path Lai Yun had provided, Xiao Zhan moved forward step by step, guided by the lightning currents. Half an hour later, he finally reached the foot of the mountain. Xiao Zhan didn't rush to climb. To be cautious, he decided to make some preparations before facing whatever was waiting for him up there. Of course, with his current level of cultivation in Tao and formations, he wasn't strong enough to threaten a supreme divinity, so he set up a one-way teleportation formation at the base of the mountain to give him an escape route if needed. Once activated, the formation would instantly teleport him back to Huangshen Island. At that point, with the island's protective barriers in place, even if the supreme divinities broke free, they wouldn't be able to do anything to him in the short term. At that moment, the figure of Black Cat appeared from within the divine thunder, gently landing beside Xiao Zhan. "Miao, you finally came out." Black Cat couldn't hide the joy on her face. She casually wrapped her arms around Xiao Zhan's. Xiao Zhan glanced at her and asked in a low voice, "What did Long Ku say?" Black Cat answered happily. "Long Ku said she'll keep an eye on this place. If anything unusual happens, she'll act immediately, Miao." Xiao Zhan nodded, pleased, and hummed in approval. He reached out and patted Black Cat's head, feeling a sense of relief. If running away was the worst option, then Divine Dragon was the ultimate safety net. With her protection, my chances of winning have increased significantly. Having prepared everything, Xiao Zhan didn't hesitate any longer. He boldly slapped Black Cat's soft peach-like bottom and smiled as he said, "Come with me to the mountaintop and see what's going on." Black Cat's face instantly turned red, and she let out a delighted meow. The Black Cat followed closely behind Xiao Zhan, both of them gently landing on the mountainside. Along the way, layers of deadly traps and barriers stacked up. Occasionally, flashes of blood-red light would burst forth, sending waves of fear through anyone who saw it. Everywhere was filled with hidden traps, without a clear path to guide them. Even a Saint King would meet their end here. Following the route Lai Yun provided, they avoided dangerous areas filled with deadly energy. Half a day later, Xiao Zhan reached the middle of the mountain and stood on a round stone platform jutting out into the air. The divine thunder here was even more intense. The bolts of lightning seemed ready to tear apart the very fabric of space, their power growing even more terrifying. Although the intensity was still not enough to pose a direct threat, various divine thunderbolts darted along his body. Rather than harming him, they gathered to form a cloak of sorts, making him look like a god stepping out of a thunderstorm. Xiao Zhan frowned slightly and moved his body. The divine thunder gathered on him immediately exploded, scattering into thousands of sparks that flew in all directions. He raised his head to look ahead and said softly, "This place is filled with barriers, so there's no way to tear apart the space for teleportation. Otherwise, I would have already reached the summit. At this pace, it will take at least another day to get to the top." The divine thunder here is even more dense, like countless lightning waterfalls gathering together with no gaps in between. Even a great saint like Tian He Feng would be struck to pieces if they came here. It's hard to imagine how powerful the leader of the Thunder God clan must have been back then. Even after transcending, they left behind a terrifying divine thunder barrier like this. The pressure from Tian Mai in this place severely suppresses my spiritual sense. Black Cat continued to follow Xiao Zhan closely. She couldn't help but be amazed by the harshness of this mountain. Since she is an elemental spirit, she wasn't affected. The two of them kept moving forward. Suddenly, Black Cat stopped. She pointed her finger ahead, toward the mountaintop, and said in surprise, "Xiao Zhan, do you see that?" On the distant mountaintop, in front of Xiao Zhan and Black Cat, two stone statues in human form appeared. Xiao Zhan couldn't hide his astonishment. In an instant, he was right next to one of the statues. He carefully examined it, but found nothing unusual. Black Cat also ran over to the other statue. After a moment of inspection, she didn't sense any dangerous aura emanating from the statue. Xiao Zhan boldly placed his hand on it to examine it. The instant his hand touched the statue, the ground beneath his feet suddenly changed. The scene of the divine thunder waterfall, which reached up to the sky, vanished as if someone had erased it with an eraser. The surroundings began to shift dramatically. The black volcanic rock was gradually replaced by soft, fertile soil. From the ground, tender grass shoots pushed through, growing wildly as if time in this place was being accelerated to its limit. Trees stretched wildly, while birds, bees, butterflies, and spirit beasts appeared one after another. Witnessing this scene, Xiao Zhan's eyes narrowed. This was the first time he had seen such a transformation. In just a moment, the surroundings were filled with vibrant life. Birds sang, flowers bloomed, and a few brief breaths passed. Not just the mountain peak, but the entire Thunder Marsh within hundreds of thousands of miles seemed to vanish, returning the land to a state brimming with vitality. Black Cat, too, was left speechless by the sight. She couldn't help but exclaim, "Meow, it's so beautiful." The landscape around them turned into a land full of life. Lush green meadows, animals frolicking, and the air filled with spiritual energy, as if they had stepped into a paradise on Earth. At this moment, Thunder Marsh vanished. The entire plain around the mountaintop was covered in a refreshing shade of green. Black Cat was delighted and hopped around joyfully. Wow, this is amazing. Meow. Xiao Zhan tilted his head and looked around. His gaze swept past an old pine tree and his eyes subtly shifted. In front of Xiao Zhan, a young couple was sitting across from each other playing chess. Both of them appeared very young. The man, probably in his 20s, wore a white robe and looked strikingly handsome. The woman, dressed in a form-fitting blue gown, radiated an ethereal and graceful aura. It seemed they had noticed Xiao Zhan's gaze. The young man in white slowly placed a chess piece with his right hand. He gently turned his head, his blue eyes shifting towards Xiao Zhan. The corner of his mouth lifted in a warm, gentle smile. "You've arrived?" he asked. Xiao Zhan remained silent. A glint of sharpness flickered in his eyes. He thought to himself, he looks young, but his voice sounds so old. The woman in the blue gown also turned her head at that moment. She lightly curled her lips into a sarcastic smile. Suddenly, that smile disappeared, leaving only sorrow behind, like a love-stricken woman abandoned by her lover. Her gaze became empty and cold, her crimson eyes filled with killing intent as she stared at Xiao Zhan. Her voice was filled with deep lament as she spoke. "Xiao Zhan, we've waited for you for 100,000 years. I'm truly heartbroken." Xiao Zhan's eyes subtly shifted, and without thinking, he took a step back. The Black Cat was frightened by the murderous intent from both of them. Instinctively, she quickly hid behind Xiao Zhan, panic in her voice as she said, "This is too scary. Do you know them?" "Mio." Xiao Zhan tried to stay calm. At this moment, if he still couldn't guess who these two were, then something was definitely wrong with his mind. He turned to the Black Cat and said casually, "They're probably the two who were sealed at the top of the mountain that Lai Yuan mentioned." As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Zhan asked, "When did you break the seal? How do you know me?" Right now, Xiao Zhan was about 5,000 meters away from the two of them. In reality, that distance was too close. If he tried to run, he might not make it in time. The Black Cat's fur stood on end as she stared intently at the two. She mentally sent a message to Xiao Zhan. "Xiao Zhan, I'm so sorry. I was careless, and they used their divine powers to lure me." Xiao Zhan gently shook his head. "Don't panic. They probably haven't completely broken the seal yet. They can only release a fraction of their power, which is why this space distortion is happening." Xiao Zhan silently thought to himself, "Asterisk, the glass ball hasn't shattered, which means they haven't broken free from the seal. They can only release a small part of their power, which is why this strange space exists. If they were truly free, why would they waste time talking to me? After all, to them, I'm nothing but an ant. The moment we met, they could have taken my life instantly, asterisk." In response to Xiao Zhan's question, the woman in the blue dress stood up. She gave a cold smile, her eyes filled with murderous intent as she stared fiercely at Xiao Zhan. "Your reputation as the demonic Chu echoes throughout the outer space universe. Years ago, you slaughtered my people and consumed my mother's star. Even if you turned to dust, I'd still recognize you." After speaking, the woman in the blue dress shot forward in the blink of an eye, standing right in front of Xiao Zhan. Her expression turned vicious, her eyes filled with hatred as she glared at him. Through gritted teeth, she said, "My master, my family, my friends, all were killed by you. I hate you so much, I could tear you apart and drink your blood." Seeing her emotional outburst, Xiao Zhan raised an eyebrow and spoke slightly puzzled. "I don't remember doing any of that. I warn you, be careful. Don't falsely accuse the innocent. Watch out, I might sue you for defamation." The young woman in the blue dress listened to Xiao Zhan's denial. She was momentarily startled, paused for a second, and then fell silent. After processing her thoughts, she coldly said, "You're right, you still don't recognize us." The man in the white robe also stood up. He looked at Xiao Zhan, curling the corner of his mouth into a faint smile, his posture relaxed. Then he spoke. "Xiao Zhan, with your intelligence, you must have figured out where we're from by now, right?" Upon hearing this, Xiao Zhan's expression subtly changed as if a thought crossed his mind. His voice grew serious as he said, "You come from Hong Huang Van Tak in outer space. Earlier, you said things that didn't make sense. What exactly do you mean? Are you trying to tell me that you crossed time through Chang He to come here just to kill me?" The man in the white robe clapped his hands in approval, laughing. "Ha ha, that's right. No wonder demonic Chu is feared by all the Van Tak." Suddenly, the man's handsome, fair face twisted. His expression grew savage, his eyes filled with a murderous intent as he stared at Xiao Zhan. He gritted his teeth and said, "Demonic Chu, do you know how much we've sacrificed just to go back in time and kill you? We didn't hesitate to undergo the Sheng Yuan cleansing ritual, all for the chance to kill you before you ever had the chance to bro." Xiao Zhan immediately furrowed his brow, thinking to himself, although I don't fully understand the Shang Yuan purification ritual, I can guess that the other party possesses an immortal body. It must be because of the Shang Yuan purification. As for why they traveled through the Chang He time stream to come and kill me, I can understand that. It's definitely because I become too powerful in the future, making them desperate. With no other options left, they had to find a way to go back in time to kill me. With this thought in mind, Xiao Zhan turned to the man in white and continued to ask, then if you want to kill me, why did you go 100,000 years into the past and get sealed here? Hearing this, the man in white laughed loudly, ha ha. The woman in the blue dress standing next to him crossed her arms and also giggled continuously. After a while, the man in white stopped laughing, then coldly looked at Xiao Zhan and said, you don't actually think that the first place we went when we traveled through the Chang He time stream was 100,000 years ago, do you? In reality, our first destination was this very moment. The woman in the blue dress added, because of some reasons we couldn't enter the Tian Qiong Continent. But you, at this moment, just happened to be on the Tai Chi ancient star, so we came directly here. Xiao Zhan's gaze shifted slightly and a look of disbelief appeared on his face. He looked at the two people in front of him and asked, so, you've been to this point in time before. The woman in the blue dress smirked coldly. He finally reacted. Then why did you go back to 100,000 years ago? Xiao Zhan continued asking. At that moment, the woman in the blue dress suddenly grabbed Xiao Zhan's chin. She smiled slightly and explained, because you ran away. You used the branching point of time to travel back 100,000 years. To chase after you. We could only follow you back to that time. You also used a trick to create a false phenomenon at Tai Chi Ancient Star. That's why we ended up in Tai Chi Ancient Star from 100,000 years ago. As she spoke, the woman's hand moved, touching Xiao Zhan in a very specific place. The action was so quick that Xiao Zhan couldn't react in time. He could only stand frozen, powerless, subtly hoping that spot would be safe. But it didn't stop there. The woman in the blue dress began to grab him. She leaned in close to his ear and said in a low voice, then you teamed up with a female supreme divinity, Tai Su Z, and seal us here. You really live up to the reputation of demonic Shu. When it comes to schemes, you're the best. Without hesitation, the woman in the blue dress tightly gripped the chicken's neck, causing its tiny soul to shatter as if it had lost half of its life. Demonic Chu's face turned pale. He gritted his teeth and let out a painful scream. Perhaps this was also the reason 100,000 years later, Demonic Chu wiped out his entire clan and devoured the woman in the blue dress. Xiao Zhan trembled all over his mind in agony. Even though she hadn't released the seal and was only using a small fraction of her strength, her grip was already that powerful. At this moment, Demonic Chu began to understand the questions that had been bothering him earlier. Why had Emperor Tai Su been able to arrive just in time to seal these two at Tai Chi Ancient Star? How had Emperor Tai Su known about him? It turned out that he had truly traveled back through time all the way to 100,000 years ago. However, there was one thing Xiao Zhan couldn't make sense of. Why, when he had returned to 100,000 years ago, hadn't he joined Emperor Tai Su at Tai Chi Ancient Star to directly devour these two, using the powers of the primordial Tao seed? With this thought in mind, Xiao Zhan voiced his doubts. After all, the woman in the blue dress had once mentioned that her planet had been completely devoured by him. So it wasn't surprising that she knew the secret of his primordial Tao seed, or that she might even possess it herself. The man in white showed a great deal of patience. He slowly explained, because of the delay caused by the laws of time, if you secretly cross through time to Chang He and pursue someone with such overwhelming strength, the laws of heaven and earth will push back against you. There's a high chance you'll be killed on the spot. Someone as cautious as you would never take that risk. So you must have arranged for your future self 100,000 years from now to come and devour us. That would minimize the risk as much as possible. However, what you didn't account for is that our speed in breaking the seal is faster than you expected. At this point, Xiao Zhan finally understood everything. He looked down at the two of them coldly and spoke in a low voice. You've schemed in countless ways to kill me. Aren't you afraid of being punished by the heavenly Tao of time? The woman in the blue dress covered her mouth, giggling softly. Her expression was utterly emotionless, sending chills down one's spine. With her bright red eyes locked on Xiao Zhan, she gritted her teeth and said, ha ha, as long as we can kill you. What does it matter if we're punished by the laws of time? It's all worth it. Xiao Zhan took a deep breath. From what you've described in the future, I'll be that powerful. Is there really no way to counter the time-traveling ambush from Chang He? He wondered to himself, in the future, will I really just be helpless watching as all the other races use Chang He's time-traveling trick to wipe out my past self? The man in white shook his head slightly. He sighed, then said, "Because of your achievement in reaching supreme divinity, you've disappeared without a trace. No one in the entire universe knows where you went. That's why we saw an opportunity and came up with this plan." Xiao Zhan's heart stirred. He thought to himself, the information in those words is quite overwhelming. So that means I haven't yet reached the supreme divinity in the future, but my strength is already enough to sweep through the world. At that point, I suddenly disappear and leave the universe in search of an opportunity to break through to supreme divinity. As he thought about this, Xiao Zhan vaguely guessed where he had gone. If he hadn't stayed in the Honghuang outer space, he must have found a way back to Land Xing to cultivate and attempt a crucial breakthrough. After all, I once speculated that the heavenly Tao couldn't interfere with Land Xing. If that's true, then it would be the safest place to break through to supreme divinity. A flood of thoughts rushed through Xiao Zhan's mind, each step unraveling the web of cause and effect surrounding him. In the future, I will reach the level of Saint King, sweeping across the universe unbeatable, bathing in the blood of countless races in outer space. Then he thought further, when I disappear in pursuit of supreme divinity, these two will take advantage of the time laws to secretly cross Chang'e and return to the past to kill me. At that time, he would be on the Tai Chi ancient star, surrounded by two supreme divinities, unable to fight back. Left with no choice, he would crush the branching point of time, traveling back 100,000 years. These two would somehow follow him to that time, tracking him down in the past. He had allied with Emperor Tai Su, asking her to help seal these two at Tai Chi ancient star. He planned to wait 100,000 years before returning to this place to finish them off. Truly, I'm not wrong about myself, Xiao Zhan muttered with a sinister smile. Admiring the cleverness of his own plan, even impressed with his current self. After a moment, Xiao Zhan tilted his head toward Black Cat and silently asked, "Black Cat, has my past self already refined the innate heavenly sword, Embryo? Has he obtained the heavenly emperor sword after merging with it? Because that's the key issue." The Black Cat shook her head gently and spoke to Xiao Zhan. "Xiao Zhan, you must remember the primordial treasures are the most special items in existence. Time in this world is not affected by the Chang'e. Out of countless points in time, only one primordial treasure can exist at any given moment. This is a law that remains unchanged forever. If in the future you possess a primordial treasure, then you certainly cannot have it now. Since the treasure is in your hands right now, there's only one possibility. Your future self hasn't obtained it yet, and right now, you concede it. It's likely that your future self arranged this on purpose. He must have encountered obstacles while trying to break through to supreme divinity, which is why he needs you to seize these treasures now to help him overcome his calamity." At this point, the Black Cat couldn't help but sigh. But your future self is just too powerful. Even without a primordial treasure, he still sweeps through the universe invincible in the Holy King realm, ruling over the outer space. Xiao Zhan thought to himself, so it seems my future self might not possess the skull-shaped pendant. While Xiao Zhan was lost in thought, the voice of the woman in the blue dress continued. She smiled coldly at him and said, "Xiao Zhan, I'll give you one last chance. Do you have any final words before you die?" Ignoring the words of the woman in the blue dress, Black Cat wrapped both arms around Xiao Zhan's, speaking directly into his mind. "Xiao Zhan, you must remember that a primordial treasure is one of the most unique existences in the world. It is not affected by the flow of time in the Chang'e River. At any given point in time, only one primordial treasure can exist. This is a law that never changes. If your future self already possesses a primordial treasure, then your present self cannot have it. If the primordial treasure is currently in your hands, it means your future self might not have it. The reason you're able to obtain the treasure now is likely because your future self has arranged for it. Why would your future self do this? It must be because he encountered obstacles while attempting to break through to supreme divinity, which is why he needs you to acquire these treasures in the past to help him overcome that trial." At this point, Black Cat looked at Xiao Zhan with admiration in his eyes, sighing in awe. "Your future self is just too powerful. Even without a primordial treasure, he can dominate the universe with the Saint King realm and remain undefeated in outer space." Hearing Black Cat's words, Xiao Zhan furrowed his brows slightly. In his mind, he thought, "In other words, my future self may not even possess that black skull-shaped pendant. But now is not the time to think about that. The immediate priority is to deal with these two in front of me." As soon as the words left his mouth, Xiao Zhan quickly regained his composure, releasing his immense energy outward. He coldly fixed his gaze on the two standing beneath the ancient pine tree and spoke in a chilling tone. "Well then, before you break the seal, I'll deal with you two first. You dragged this out long enough. It's time for you to leave." Hearing Xiao Zhan, the woman in the blue dress sneered. Her words dripped with disdain. "Ha ha! Xiao Zhan, do you really think you're a match for us now? If we wanted your life, Taking it would be as easy as crushing an ant. Xiao Zhan smirked. He waved his hand dismissively, looking at the two in front of him with contempt. Stop pretending. With such a poor script and even worse acting, do you really think you can fool me? As soon as he finished speaking, a blood-red planet appeared out of thin air, hovering directly above Xiao Zhan's head. The moment the blood-red planet emerged, Bai Zi and Lan Dai instinctively felt fear. Their eyes widened in terror, and beads of sweat began to pour from their foreheads. Lan Dai panicked and exclaimed, This blood-red planet has devoured countless planets and wiped out so many of their own kind. Bai Zi's expression was serious as he said, We're almost there. If we'd hold on for another half hour, we'll be able to tear through the seal and strike, ending his life immediately. At that moment, the void above Xiao Zhan's head suddenly twisted, turning the entire sky a deep crimson. On the blood-red planet, a throne made of coagulated blood appeared. Sitting on the throne was a phantom figure, dressed in golden robes. His figure was enormous, so large that even if the universe collapsed, he would remain seated, calmly bearing the weight of heaven and earth. His eyes gleamed with golden light like a divine king from the highest heavens. He looked down from his elevated position, gazing over all living things, his presence overwhelming the entire universe, from the 9 heavens to the 10 earths. Bai Zi's body trembled as he stepped in front of Lan Dai, raising his head to glare at Xiao Zhan's phantom. He gritted his teeth and shouted with intense hatred in his voice. Xiao Zhan, there will come a day when Heavenly Tao will judge you, you freak of nature. The phantom of Xiao Zhan, sitting on his throne, curled his lips into a mocking smile. Heavenly Tao, he doesn't have the right to judge me. One day, I'll surpass even Heavenly Tao. After speaking, the shadowy figure of Xiao Zhan flashed a sinister smile and extended his hand forward, aiming directly at Bai Zi and Lan Dai, who were standing below. Bai Zi immediately froze in shock, his eyes filled with anger as he snapped, What are you doing? Countless blood-red threads shot out from the shadow, slowly winding toward the two standing below. Lan Dai's eyes revealed deep concern. She quickly said, Bai Zi, what should we do? If this keeps up, that monster will swallow us whole. Bai Zi gripped Lan Dai's hand tightly, as if making a decision. For the order of the Heavenly Tao, for our future, for the glory of Van Ti, we must destroy him. He is an anomaly, one that the Heavenly Tao cannot allow. Lan Dai, listen closely. Xiao Zhan is still very weak at the moment. He can only devour one of us at a time. Next, I will do my best to slow down his consumption. You must seize this chance to break the seal. Once you succeed, kill him immediately. Lan Dai's nose tinged with bitterness. Her eyes were filled with unshed tears as she looked at Bai Zi, a painful expression on her face. Bai Zi, you must stop too. 100,000 years living and dying together for 100,000 years. Even stone can feel affection, let alone two beings like us. Enough, Lan Dai. Bai Zi said firmly, You must kill demonic Chu. We cannot let history repeat itself. Xiao Zhan, that demon, must die. At this point, Bai Zi reached out and hugged Lan Dai. It was probably a farewell hug, the last one filled with the regret of separation. In that moment, Lan Dai couldn't hold back her tears, and the drops rolled down her cheeks. While the two were communicating through sound transmission, Xiao Zhan had already arrived and stopped about 500 meters away. When he saw them, without saying a word, he just smirked and gave a soft smile, saying, So, you're already panicking? It seems my guess was right. You really are strong on the outside, but weak on the inside. Creating a space like this is probably the limit of your abilities, isn't it? Seeing Xiao Zhan's smug expression, Bai Zi became furious. He yelled at him, Demonic Chu, don't get too full of yourself. Do you really think you can easily wipe us out with your current strength? You're overestimating yourself. You're too weak. You're nothing but a chicken, not even worthy of carrying my shoes. Bai Zi's voice was full of provocation. His goal was simple, to anger Xiao Zhan, to make him strike first and try to devour him, giving Lan Dai a chance to break the seal. But how could Bai Zi's plan possibly deceive the demon head Xiao Zhan? Xiao Zhan wasn't angry at all. On the contrary, he gave Bai Zi a cold glance and then smirked mockingly. Oh, really? As soon as he spoke, blood-red threads shot through the air, speeding toward Lan Dai, who was standing behind Bai Zi. This was completely unexpected for Bai Zi, and he didn't react in time. The blood-red threads quickly bound Lan Dai tightly. She struggled relentlessly, her eyes filled with despair as she softly called out, Bai Zi. In a panic, Bai Zi reached out to try to save her, but Xiao Zhan's blood-red spiritual threads threatened him, forcing him to just stand there and watch as she was consumed. Xiao Zhan's face twisted into a cruel smile, and he looked at Bai Zi with wicked amusement. Ha ha, what pair of Levisic fools. Don't worry, she'll be comfortable soon. In fact, she'll enjoy it. As Xiao Zhan spoke, Lan Dai's body began to tremble violently. She writhed and struggled, occasionally letting out heavy, labored sounds of distress. Oh, her face flushed deeply, watching Lan Dai writhe and scream behind him. Bai Zai's face twisted with fury, his eyes filled with deep hatred as he glared at Xiao Zhan and angrily shouted, "Let her go! If you have the guts, come after me instead!" Seeing Bai Zai's expression, Xiao Zhan couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. He burst into loud laughter. "Ha ha! Don't think I don't know. You were trying to make me angry earlier, weren't you? Your real goal was to save this woman. Well, I'm not going to let you get what you want. Ha! Actually, I wanted you to get angry. Ha ha ha. Now you see, don't you? Whether it's 100,000 years ago or 100,000 years from now, no matter what you do, you'll never be able to kill me." With every word, Xiao Zhan's laughter felt like 1,000 needles stabbing into Bai Zai's heart. His red eyes locked on Lan Dai, who was being slowly wrapped in blood-red threads, turning into a cocoon. His voice, filled with deep resentment, gritted through his teeth as he hissed, "Demonic Chu, I swear I will tear you apart, drink your blood, and burn your soul for 10,000 years." Xiao Zhan's expression remained calm on the outside, but inside, he was fully focused on keeping an eye on Lan Dai. Bai Zai's reaction made him realize that the two of them were about to break the seal. If even one of them escaped, it would spell disaster for Xiao Zhan. The pressure he felt had never been this intense. Bai Zai didn't say much. He focused all his energy on breaking the seal. The seal was close to shattering. If my speed is fast enough, I might still be able to save Lan Dai. I need to hurry just a little faster, even faster. Xiao Zhan, one hand tightly holding onto Lan Dai, looked at Bai Zai and sneered, saying, "Today, the seeds you sow will be the fruit you reap. If you dare defy the heavens and travel across time and space to kill me, then today, if I don't die, when I become an undefeated holy king, I will hunt your people deep within the universe. I'll find your homeland and wipe it out, one by one, slicing through the earth, scrambling egg yolks, and pouring oil on an ant's nest. Don't worry, I won't leave a single living soul. Ha ha ha." At this moment, Lan Dai was still trembling uncontrollably. Her form twisted in agony, and her heavy sobs mixed with choking gasps. The cruel words of the demon lord sent a chill down Bai Zai's spine. Every hair on the back of his neck stood on end, and his mind began to spiral into chaos. As a result, his progress in breaking the seal slowed. Inside, he cursed in frustration. "Damn it, I can't break this fast enough." Seeing Bai Zai's expression, Demonic Chu smirked, a cold, wicked smile playing on his lips. Inside, he felt a surge of amusement, silently thinking, "Ha ha, you think you can challenge me? You're still way out of your league." At the same time, in Laishan village, a powerful tremor suddenly shook the ground, stopping everyone in the Thunder God clan from their work. Shock and fear spread across their faces as they looked around, eyes filled with panic. They all looked up toward the sky. What's going on? Has something happened outside? In Laishan village, only Lai Yun and his grandson knew what was truly happening. Right now, a monumental event was unfolding outside, one that would decide the fate of all beings in a Tai Chi ancient star. Lai Yun's face was tense as he stared at the sky, beads of sweat dripping from his forehead without stopping. "Xiao Zhan, you must succeed." Lai Song clenched her fists tightly, her eyes sharp as daggers, staring into the distant sky as though praying. "Xiao Zhan, brother, you must succeed." Meanwhile, in the middle of the great expanse of swampland, at the divine dragon palace of Tai Chi ancient star, Long Ku suddenly opened her golden eyes. Her voice barely audible, she said, "It's beginning." A trace of worry flickered in her gaze as she murmured to herself, "He can't fail. I should go check on him." With those words, Long Ku immediately transformed into her golden dragon form. She slowly lifted a massive dragon claw and gently tore open a huge rift in the air. Her enormous body flew into it and vanished without a trace. Back at the Tai Chi ancient star, deep in the divine thunder swamp, on top of the large black mountain covered by an illusory spatial barrier, a life and death battle was taking place between Xiao Zhan and the two supreme divinities. The surrounding air was thick with killing intent. Xiao Zhan stood in the void, his gaze focused on the front, where Bai Zai was desperately burning his blood essence trying to break the seal. Lan Dai was still being slowly consumed, with strands of Xiao Zhan's blood-red spiritual energy almost covering her entire body. Just a little longer, and Lan Dai would turn into a blood-red, alluring mummy. Xiao Zhan's eyes remained fixed on Bai Zai. His expression carried a hint of curiosity as he spoke softly. "I'm really curious. You didn't seal yourselves off, so how have you managed to survive for 100,000 years?" Bai Zai's face turned pale, and with a cold voice he replied, "Do you really think I'll tell you?" Bai Zi unconsciously glanced up toward Lan Dai, who was slowly being transformed into a blood-red cocoon by Xiao Zhan's powers. The fury inside Bai Zi burned like fire. He hated that he couldn't endure this pain in her place. Xiao Zhan smirked. Ha ha, how about this? You tell me the secret and I'll let her go sound good. Bai Zi was so angry he could almost spit blood. He gritted his teeth and answered in a low voice, You really think I'll believe you? Everyone knows that demonic Chu is a despicable, shameless person. You're a liar, devious, and wicked, a true villain. Bai Zi's harsh words hit a nerve with Xiao Zhan, but he didn't get angry. Instead, he shook his head and sighed softly. Well, if you won't say anything, then forget it. Even if you don't tell me, I can guess part of it. The Shen Yuan ritual you mentioned must be closely connected to the immortal material from Tian. I've heard that any cultivator who enters Tian can achieve immortality. That's probably the reason behind it, right? Bai Zi, having lived for 100,000 years, was truly a master of ancient cultivation. Faced with Xiao Zhan's probing questions, full of schemes and traps, he didn't reveal any weaknesses. He neither admitted nor denied anything. Xiao Zhan stood calmly, arms crossed, with a slight smile on his face. Interesting. What exactly is Tian then? At the Tai Chi ancient star in the Divine Thunder Swamp, atop a large black mountain, the life or death battle between demonic Chu and Bai Zi had quieted down. One side was fully focused on refining Lan Dai, while the other was relentlessly burning blood essence to break the seal. Both sides were locked in a stalemate with no clear victor yet. Xiao Zhan closed his eyes. He could clearly feel his primordial Dao Si wildly absorbing a special energy from Lan Dai. This energy was merging with his Dao Si, causing the great Dao he was cultivating to rapidly expand. His strength was also increasing quickly. The sensation was incredible, making Xiao Zhan feel as though he were floating in an immortal realm. He couldn't help but exclaim, This is amazing. The faster the energy is absorbed, the clearer the sense of achievement. No wonder this is the power of a supreme divinity at full strength. At this rate, after devouring Lan Dai, my 5 elements might reach the level of a great saint. If I then consume Bai's Day, my 9 origins could break through to great saint. Could my power rival the Saint King? Thinking about this, Xiao Zhan's gaze toward Bai Zi grew filled with longing. He unconsciously licked his lips and whispered, Mine, everything is mine. Time passed and the speed of absorption grew even faster. The blood-red energy above his head also began to change dramatically. On top of his blood-red throne, a stream of blood river suddenly appeared. This was the manifestation of the one-path Tao. It resembled the blood river projection that had appeared in the sky above the Tian Qiong Continent when he underwent his saint body tribulation. It was just blood river, but now it felt much smaller above Xiao Zhan. 4 thick blood tendrils, each the size of a thumb, hung down from the blood river, stretching into the empty void. No one knew where they ended, but Xiao Zhan knew exactly that these 4 blood tendrils connected him to Sun Peng, Tu Shan Yu, Tu Shan King Su, and Ming Yao Zi. At the moment of the most intense turbulence, a crisp cracking sound echoed from above. Xiao Zhan and Bai Zi, without any signal, both looked up at the same time. Their eyes were locked on the blood-red cocoon. The crack in the blood-red cocoon gradually spread. It kept trembling, then shattered into threads, with blood-colored liquid scattering and floating through the air. At the same time, Lan Dai emerged from the cocoon. Upon seeing her, Bai Zi's face filled with surprise and emotion as he exclaimed, Lan Dai has broken free from the cocoon. Lan Dai remained calm and composed, her eyes still closed. She hadn't changed, still as beautiful and enchanting as ever. Bai Zi, surrounded by a fiery red aura, trembled as he stepped forward. He reached out his hand as if to catch her. Thank goodness, Lan Dai, you're not hurt. Are you okay? Lan Dai said nothing. Her eyes, empty and distant, flickered slightly as she ignored Bai Zi's gaze. Without a word, she walked straight toward the spot where Xiao Zhan was standing. Bai Zi stood frozen, not knowing how to react, simply watching her in silence. When Lan Dai reached Xiao Zhan, she respectfully knelt and performed a bow. Thank you, Master, for helping you rebuild my body. Please accept this bow from Lan Dai. Seeing this, Bai Zi's face turned stiff. His eyes widened in shock as he shouted, Lan Dai, what do you think you're doing? Lan Dai didn't even seem to hear Bai Zi's words. She stood up and walked over to stand next to Xiao Zhan. In a sweet, slightly cold voice, she addressed him, Master. Xiao Zhan wrapped his arm around her waist, his eyes filled with satisfaction as he nodded at her with approval. Smiling, he said, I won't bring up the past, as long as you serve me well from now on. Just as he finished speaking, demonic Chu quickly reached out and gave Lan Dai's plump, round bottom a playful slap, making her flinch. her face flushed with embarrassment as she shyly leaned her head against Xiao Zhan's shoulder, softly replying, "Yes, master." The scene before Bai Zi made him feel completely frantic. He trembled, his mouth opening as if he wanted to say something, but his throat was too dry, and only faint sobs escaped, like the cries of a wild animal. Tears of blood silently streamed from the corners of his eyes. After 100,000 years of companionship, today they were like strangers. He had forgotten the deep hatred, even showing affection, closeness, and submission to his enemy. Bai Zi wrapped his hands around his head, his face twisted with utter sorrow. His voice was filled with pain, echoing endlessly. Why? Why is this happening? Why? While Bai Zi was lost to the extreme agony of his questions, Lan Dai stepped forward and spoke, trying to comfort him. Bai Zi, for the sake of the bond we once had, I advise you to let go of your grudge against the master and accept his transformation. Hearing this, Bai Zi shouted in anger, Lan Dai, what are you saying? You want me to bow down to Xiao Zhan and call them master? How can you forget our clan's annihilation? Wake up. Xiao Zhan, what exactly have you done to brainwash Lan Dai? What filthy things have you done to her? Xiao Zhan stood not far away, lightly licking his lips. His cold eyes glanced at Bai Zi, who had fallen into the deepest sorrow. With a gentle smile, he said, Don't be so sorrowful. There's no need to be afraid. I'll bring you all together soon, haha. Xiao Zhan didn't hesitate for a second. The crimson energy above his head began to swirl. Strands of blood-red energy, like serpents, dropped down silently and moved toward Bai Zi. Xiao Zhan was someone who understood the principle of not talking too much in a fight. He knew that demonic Chu would never allow anyone the chance to turn the tables when things were going smoothly. But Xiao Zhan was a bit slow this time. Before the blood-red strands could reach Bai Zi, an invisible force like a wall blocked them. Bai Zi slowly lifted his head. Beneath his messy silver hair, a fierce face full of malice and hatred appeared. Xiao Zhan, today I will definitely kill you. As soon as the words left his mouth, the crystal ball inside Xiao Zhan's storage ring shattered into pieces. At that moment, Bai Zi looked up, and demonic Chu immediately sensed that he had broken free from the seal. Xiao Zhan's eyes widened in shock. In that instant, he looked at Bai Zi in disbelief and thought to himself, the seal was broken so suddenly. I need to get out of here. Staying alive is the priority. With the seal destroyed, the illusion of life that Bai Zi had created vanished in an instant. Everything around them returned to the divine thunder swamp. The massive black mountain collapsed, divine thunder raged, and the heavens seemed to scream in fury, creating a scene that felt like the apocalypse. Xiao Zhan's face turned pale, and he sighed in panic. Damn it, are you the main character or something? How can you unleash such power at the most critical moment? As Bai Zi broke free from the seal, his aura exploded, shaking the earth like a mountain roaring and the sea howling. He took slow, deliberate steps towards Xiao Zhan. Even though he had been sealed for 100,000 years as a supreme divinity, his foundation remained intact. No matter how much he had fallen, his realm was still beyond anything Xiao Zhan could resist. Bai Zi spoke coldly. Xiao Zhan, I've told you before, I will eat your flesh, drink your blood, and burn your soul for millions of years so you will never be able to transcend. Bai Zi's voice was hoarse, ancient, and filled with hatred. It was understandable, really. If someone watched their lover be devoured right in front of them, anyone would be consumed with rage. Without hesitation, Xiao Zhan grabbed Mu Xiao Xie and, following a clear path, leaped off the mountain peak. His figure moved like a ghost, nimbly dodging through the chaotic divine thunder. As he ran, he glanced back over his shoulder and said seriously, Brother, you're a supreme divinity, the strongest of the strong. How could you lose your mind over a woman like this? Is it really worth it? I think we can work something out. How about this? I can introduce you to some stunning women, gentle and skilled in every way. How about you let me go? Even though Xiao Zhan was pushing himself to the limit, Bai Zi was still sticking closely to him like a shadow, never falling behind. The reason his opponent didn't attack immediately was mainly because he needed a guide to get off the mountain. After all, the whole place was filled with deadly traps and ambushes. Even though Bai Zi had just broken free from his seal as a supreme divinity, the laws of the world suppressed him to the level of a saint king. Without a guide, he could easily fall into one of the traps and end up seriously injured or even killed. Bai Zi's expression remained motionless, his cold demeanor never changing as he silently followed behind Xiao Zhan. His face darkened with fury, and the killing intent in him grew colder, cutting to the bone. He yelled, Xiao Zhan, today I will take your life. Lan died, be careful, don't get caught in this mess. Demonic Chu, prepare to die. As he spoke, Bai Zi summoned numerous blue sword ki and hurled them towards Xiao Zhan. Slash, slash, slash. The sword ki came down like a torrential rain. Xiao Zhan, with his quick and agile, ethereal steps of yin and yang, was desperately running down the mountain while trying to stall his opponent at the same time. Oh no, you don't trust me? I swear by the heavenly Tao, I'll guarantee smooth, fair skin, a beautiful figure, long legs, soft and gentle. Shut up. Bai Ze's roar cut through the air. Bai Ze was incredibly frustrated. His shout was like thunder, his face as cold as a demon's, with his red eyes glowing with a chilling light. Demonic Chu, I told you today, I will take your life. A storm of icy sword energy surged again, falling down on Xiao Zhan. Xiao Zhan leaped up, narrowly dodging the thick rain of sharp sword energy. His body shot through the air like an arrow from a bow, his long black hair flying behind him. He squinted and sent a message to Black Cat. Has the divine dragon arrived? Black Cat shook its head, its voice tinged with unease. I don't know, I can't climb this mountain. Even if they do arrive, they can only wait at the foot of the mountain. Xiao Zhan's face turned pale as he glanced at Bai Ze, who was still chasing him. He remained frighteningly calm, his expression unwavering. His steps were slow, almost deliberate, as he muttered under his breath. This guy is terrifying. His emotions are so unstable. He could have killed me the moment he broke the seal, yet he's holding back just to find a way out of here. This is a mistake. I didn't expect the seal to be broken so quickly. The Black Cat pouted, shot a glare at Xiao Zhan, and said with a hint of frustration, Isn't it because you wanted to provoke him? Now look what's happened. Xiao Zhan ran while helplessly laughing. My intention was to slow him down, but I didn't expect him to turn his anger into strength. One wrong word and he's already ready to explode. Go check if the divine dragon has arrived. If she's still not here, I'll have no choice but to use my trump card to deal with this guy. The Black Cat, understanding the urgency, nodded and quickly returned to her true form. Wait for my news, Mio. In a flash, she disappeared. After the Black Cat left, Xiao Zhan kept his speed as he descended the mountain. Bai Ze continued his fierce attacks, but he wasn't going for a killing blow, which only made Xiao Zhan more suspicious. Why isn't he trying to kill me? What's he afraid of? Suddenly, Xin Li's worried voice sounded in his mind, urgently reminding him, Xiao Zhan, please remember, you absolutely cannot go down the mountain. The seal at Thunder Marsh has been lifted, but there's still residual energy that can suppress Bai Ze's strength. If you go down, his power will be 10 times stronger than it is now. Xiao Zhan immediately stopped when he heard that and decisively turned to look at Bai Ze. So that's what it was. The reason Xiao Zhan wasn't afraid was because he still had the supreme divinity talisman that Lu Yi had left him. When Bai Ze saw Xiao Zhan suddenly turn around, he was a bit surprised and asked in shock, Why aren't you running down a mountain anymore? Xiao Zhan's eyes were full of seriousness as he silently cursed to himself, If I go down the mountain, I'll definitely die. Staying here might give me a slim chance. Bai Ze, with his blood-red eyes, stared intensely at Xiao Zhan's retreating figure. Lan Dai, just wait a little longer. I'll definitely take revenge for you. In less than an hour, I'll be able to leave this damn mountain. By then, I won't have anything holding me back from dealing with demonic Chu. Of course, Bai Ze still had another option. Capture Xiao Zhan alive, forcefully extract his soul, and take the safe route down the mountain. But doing that would be very dangerous. If Xiao Zhan got angry and destroyed his own soul, Bai Ze's way down the mountain would be ruined. Xiao Zhan had his trump card, so he was willing to take the risk. Bai Ze, however, couldn't afford to. Human nature is greedy, and Bai Ze not only wanted revenge for Lan Dai, but also wanted his freedom. He had been sealed for 100,000 years, and after much effort, he had finally broken free to reclaim it. How could he accept dying here? Moreover, he was absolutely confident he could deal with Xiao Zhan after getting off the mountain. Leaving Xiao Zhan here for just one more hour wouldn't mess up his plans. At this moment, Black Cat came down from the mountain to find Divine Dragon and had just returned. She immediately delivered the news. Xiao Zhan is in trouble. Divine Dragon isn't appearing at the foot of the mountain. Xiao Zhan frowned and quickly asked, Does she not want to come, or is she unable to come? With a worried tone, Black Cat replied, She probably can't make it. Although Long Hu has a bit of a bad temper, she promised she wouldn't break her word. Hearing this, Xiao Zhan furrowed his brows and thought to himself, why can't she come? Could she have been stopped, and by whom? On Tai Chi, Ancient Star, the only person who could stop Divine Dragon now was one person, Tian Qiong.